What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Evening Alpha Show. I am your host, Todd Wanish, 26-year veteran of the comic and animation area. And I guess I am officially like an OG because I've been in the NFT space for over 12 months now. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes to be an OG and Web3 is to actually still be standing after, 12 plus months. Tonight, we have a really special episode for you guys, and I'm actually really excited for this. We are doing an AMA with Kyle Mortensen, who is one of the founders of the Glimmering. And for those that do not know, the Glimmering is a new 5e campaign designed to preserve the magic of classic tabletop RPGs while innovating the player experience. So imagine that the adventure expands beyond just traditional gaming and moves into Web3 and into the blockchain. Kyle, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you. No complaints. Just, sipping my tea. My cat's kind of like nagging at my feet, so
That's right. That's right. It's perfect time for the cat to like sit on the keyboard. That's what happens.
Pretty much.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Just to let everybody know, I mean, you and I had a conversation. I don't know, internet time and NFT time is weird. So I feel like it was just a few days ago, but it was a couple of days ago. And we just hit it off. Like not only because, the similarities between the Glimmering and adult fantasy in terms of our ideas of storytelling and Web3 and gameplay. But also, we were talking about music and all these other things. So I'm really stoked to kind of bring that, bring that up and bring it out to the forefront. So just so that people have a background, can you talk a little bit about, like the behind the scenes of the Glimmering and what it's about?
Yeah. So the Glimmering came about, I want to say back in August. Patrick Comer, who was the brainchild of this thing. So I run a creative agency. I own a creative agency called New Science. We've been around since 2010. See, my cat's already like wanting to get into the spotlight here. I'm wondering if she's a Leo. Patrick has had a data analytics company called Lucid, and my agency had done the rebrand and all the creative for that back in 2015, I think it was. Anyways, Patrick and I had always just gotten along and had a great relationship, but I actually hadn't spoken to him in a little while, other than just like maybe comments here and there on social media. But he kind of called me out of the blue in August and was just like, "Yo, man, what's going on? I've got this idea. Like, how knowledgeable are you about NFTs and Web3?" And at the time, my knowledge was pretty surface level, and mostly it was based on what I had seen in the music space. I think like Kings of Leon was one of the first bands that had done something with NFTs that kind of caught my attention. So I was knowledgeable, but wasn't like super heavy into it. And he kind of pitched me his idea of bringing 5e to the blockchain, which just completely blew my mind. And I kind of just went down the rabbit hole with him for a couple weeks, and he introduced me to Brent McCrossin, who is the CEO, also one of the founders of Gripner, the parent company that has launched the Glimmering, and kind of just started out as just a simple idea, and then it was like the three of us started putting our heads together, and then other people kind of started getting into the mix, and it's, I don't know, what we're 9-10 months later into this thing, and we're getting pretty close to actually launching the Mint, the Genesis collection. So it's been pretty amazing to do it. It's something that obviously none of us have ever done before. And that's what excited me about the project. I've always found throughout my entire career that like every time I've been the most successful, it's when I attempted to do something I'd never done before.
Yeah, 100%. I can relate to that. Yeah, I'm going to share the Glimmering website on the screen so everybody can see it. Nice. Dope site, by the way. The site design is really well done.
That was, that's part of, basically that was my agency team like that I brought to the table to help put that together. We do websites all day, every day for big brands like Live Nation, and we work with like Universal Music Group and 21st Century Fox, and So, I put my team on it, and it's been a lot of fun. Everything really starts, the core of the visual identity comes down to the NFT artwork, which is Angry Blue on the Graphicon, John, those guys. And it was really my job to sort of give them the framework to do their thing, to set them up to be successful, and then bringing in the right people and the pieces around it to help expand, that visual identity. And I think the website was a perfect example of that.
So just out of curiosity, like what, coming kind of cold in to Web3 and NFTs, what's been the biggest unexpected thing? Like the biggest, as someone who has a Web2 company, is an entrepreneur, built something from scratch, I think you get used to the way that system works, right? Yep. There are certain laws, whether it's venture capital, whether it's resource management, whether it's, the way to actually build, scale, grow a company, marketing, all this kind of stuff is very standardized now. Yep. What has been so far the biggest surprise, like where you're just like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming, like for Web3?
Oh, wow. Honestly, man, it's hard to say. I mean, like, it seems like every week there's a new surprise of something, I mean, honestly, just the way we've been approaching the artwork has been so unlike anything any of us have done before. Just the way you're actually having to, I mean, of course, like being the naive, like newbies when we first started this thing, I think you and I had kind of, hang on a second, let me give this knuckle. Chill the fuck out.
That's what you call an adorable cat. Like, it's a good cat when the cat's like, no, I want to be on camera.
She's hilarious. Like when we started this thing, we sort of had really big, grandiose visions. I mean, obviously, I think we kind of talked about this, when I first got into it, just the outsider looking in, it's like, okay, everybody's kind of doing the yearbook photo, and it's just sort of this randomized stuff. But like what we had to do was bring, the most popular adventure, tabletop role-playing game of all time and bring it to the blockchain. For me, it was more about action, right? It's a verb, it's adventure. It has movement. So to me, just doing the standard PFP was not really going to be the right direction for this. And so it became, we spent probably a month with the artists just working on different sketches, different camera poses, each one sort of posing different problems, right? Like if you're super zoomed out, you can kind of see more of you see more of the full body, but you're more of like a bystander in it, versus if like you're more pushed in, you're getting more of the face, and like the face becomes just more expressive, and it kind of pulls you in and almost makes you feel like you're in the adventure, like you're in the battle.
Yeah.
And we tried a few different things, and I think big picture we were like, oh, we could do like multiple poses and for different classes and whatnot. And it was like, as we started going down the rabbit hole, it was like, maybe we need to simplify things a bit, because it would have taken us 2 years to probably get to the finish line on it,
I think that's really interesting. And it's something that we, with Adult Fantasy, we did as well. We had, and it's something, a lot of times I find myself trying to express, what it's like behind the scenes, that I think, people who are collectors or buyers of NFTs maybe don't know about, like what actually goes into it, because people see the final product and they just kind of, I think there's a natural assumption, like with any product, that it just kind of came out that way, like, oh, this was the idea and this is the eventual thing. And this is of course how it ended up on purpose. And like for us, it was, I mean, we did so many tests and so many designs and so many trials of trying to find a system that would be workable and scalable for the art, and in a style that people would dig, and honestly that I would enjoy doing,
Yeah, I mean, that was really the biggest surprise. Was, I mean, even the artists that I work with, right? These guys, I know Angry Blue from years ago. He and I had collaborated on an animated short film for Assassin's Creed that we did with Rob Zombie and Tony Moore. And when you're doing something like that, it's just a finite, like, it's a scene, you draw the scene, and that's sort of it. This, even from other NFT projects I've seen, being that it's 5e, there's some specific races or ancestries, there's specific classes, and then within that, there's certain weapons and things, front hand, backhand, shield, armor, so forth, and you have to make that work across all like ancestries and races, right? So it was a lot of like trial and error, right? Like it's a big difference between like holding a sword,
Yep.
you know, bow and arrow, and then maybe you got some two-handed weapons, or you've got, you know, a front hand weapon and a backhand. So it was a lot of trial and error, and just even like camera placement. Like you could just shift the camera, you know, even 10 degrees, like a certain, and it just felt weird.
Yeah.
You know, so what we settled on was probably at least a month of just like dicking around with different ideas and poses, and oh no, that works. Oh, that looks great. And then, you know, 4 hours later, no, that's not going to work. Yeah, it was a lot of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I also think the square format is challenging. Like we you know, when I was in my background with doing like fine art painting, most of my paintings were always square. And so when I found out that the kind of the standard NFT shape was a square, I was like, oh, this is cool. That's like a no-brainer. But once you move away from the shoulder, you know, the PFP shoulders up, it becomes incredibly difficult because it's not a portrait shape, right? A portrait shape would be a little more rectangular and would give you a little more room to create a full body pose, or even a half body pose, or something else. But a square is very difficult. I think that's why it's a challenge for teams. At least I know it was for us. It's a challenge to move away from that portrait shot, because that's what naturally fills up the space, you know, in a bright kind of poppy way. The minute you kind of pull out and try to add armor or weaponry or a torso, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, as an artist, it becomes a compositional challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I've said this a million times, like, full credit goes to the art team and the amount of hours and time and grind they've put into this, and just the way they've been able to find some really clever ways, just the way that the characters are positioned within that square. Like there was a lot of thought put into that, because it allowed for being able to interchange like body types, like humanoids that you can use across like multiple races, and then just by increasing like the size of their hands or their heads, you can sort of, the eye just thinks that the body type may be a little bit different, you know, because the way the camera has obscured, you know, legs or the back or whatever. Yeah, that's been the most. I mean, the other day, Dan, on the Graphic-Con, he had sent around like just a screenshot where he basically had, you know, one character with like every weapon in their hands. just to show how like they will always line up no matter what. I mean, that was the biggest thing, right? Once you like get the art done, you're like, great, but then you hand it off to technology,
right?
And then technology starts generating stuff, and then you start looking back at it and you go, oh wait, okay, that didn't really quite line up the way we thought it would.
Right.
We need to adjust this so that it works in that scenario. And it's
right. You have to go back through pretty much everything to make sure there's not some kind of crazy conflict. Like
that's in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah. And I know, so also, I also think it's interesting. Like you and I have a similar, kind of a network, and that I've got some friends that are Wizards of the Coast writers and guys that write these stories, and I find it fascinating that you're bringing that experience, that role play game, to the blockchain. And like, can you talk a little bit about that? Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, okay, so you know, we met the 10K, and you know, I have my stack of Glimmering NFTs, and so how does the actual experience open up on, like, how are you combining that TTRPG experience with blockchain?
So the actual gameplay design for on-chain is being designed right now. We have an amazing writer Stephen Randy McFarlane, who's worked for Wizards of the Coast, he's been a TTRPG game designer for 25 years. He's absolutely amazing. He's been building this world since last year, essentially. And he honestly, like, a lot of his stuff is you're seeing within the artwork itself, right? Like what races, or I should say what ancestries, which classes we kind of rolled with, just certain things like characteristics, like eye colors and that sort of stuff. Sometimes like the art team will make suggestions and then that will actually get woven into the story. But the actual game design itself, I mean, right now we have a one shot that can be played, that we've been setting up games through Baldman Games that you can actually sign up to play the one shot. The actual tech piece for how everything is being logged on chain is actually being in design and is in development now. And I don't want to like give a timeline for when that will launch, but we do expect it later this year that actual on-chain gameplay will happen.
Oh, that's awesome. And it really is sort of like a TTRPG using characters from the Web3 Mint.
Yeah, exactly. So, as you play and progress, your character will evolve over time, and the artwork will evolve with the character, which we're still figuring out, now, like what that experience actually looks like.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We, for us, we're kind of in the same world. Like we have, one of our core missions is helping our members that we call them adults, right? So you got adult fantasy, you've got the adults. And what we do is we help build and facilitate tools and lore games that assist in creating world-class character-based franchises, right? A universal franchise. And it's really the use of that Web3 technology that allows us to create something that's radical and decentralized. And what I tell people is that we have a tendency to zig when other people zag. So everybody's going full into 3D and metaverse and voxel design or a sandbox or other side, like full on video game. And for us, it's TTRPG and pencil and paper and play testing and bringing all of that old school fun right up to the point, because that is, for us, and just from doing it for 30 years, there's no better way to create character. There's no better way to create a story. And you can't, I don't know if you can actually do that without doing something like what the Glimmering is doing or what Adult Fantasy is doing, where, if you have an NFT and you jump right into metaverse, that's awesome for a game experience. Like you are playing a game and you can certainly have fun and you can certainly do all the things you can in the game, but that's not necessarily creating a character franchise or an IP that can be used for development and licensing and publishing and collecting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. And so I think I find it fascinating that you guys kind of catch that as well, where it's like, okay, this is foundational. We're going to take the creation of the story and have that be the thing that's what's so special about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're the whole idea is to have the community help build this universe, and like I can tell you 6 months from now, like my mind is going to be completely blown by what the community actually does with this, whether it's someone deciding to take their character NFT and they I don't know. I mean, you just see like people like with Bored Ape holders like putting out rap albums and stuff, right? It's it's completely crazy. Like I don't think any of us have any idea what we're gonna see 6, 8, 9, 12 months from now.
Yep.
But that's what's so exciting. I think we were talking about this. It feels like the new golden age of piracy or something. Like we're just like sailing out into the unknown, in seek of new frontiers, and it'll be really fascinating to see what people are gonna be able to do with this.
And it's the new frontier of ownership. You know what I mean? Like we both, I mean, whether an agency background and design background and comics and all that, like we both know that, as a creator and as an entrepreneur, you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into everything that you make,
Yep.
and you are exchanging all of that equity and all of that creation and all of that investment, that time investment, right? You're exchanging that contractually for a paycheck,
Yep.
which is fine up to a point, right?
Hmm.
It's fine if it's yeah, it's, I always say it's like, it's fine unless you're the person that created Hello Kitty or the Nike Swish. You know what I mean? And then
Correct.
you realize, holy shit, I got paid $250 and this logo is worth however many billions of dollars. Then
Yep.
it's not so fine. You know what I mean? Then there's a problem. And so I think, we're in this age where we can kind of say, you know what, especially for storytelling, especially for gaming, these creative fields, it's time for the community to take over and say, hey, thanks for the car key, thanks for the keys to the car, Dad. We got it from here. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to take all of our ownership. We can, if you want to be a partner, there's a possibility with that, but we're good. Like, we have the means of production, we have the means to advertise, we have the means of promotion, we have the tools of creation. We don't necessarily need anything else. And we don't, and if the community grows, it's the community that naturally attracts licensing deals and all this stuff anyway. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That's what it is. The creators, the reason you have all of these new creators rushing to YouTube live or moving from YouTube to Netflix or to Amazon deals is because they went out and they built audiences, and
Yep.
they're the ones in control of that fan base, meaning their fans have given them enough support and given them enough belief that they're then able to have leverage when they start to make these deals with Hollywood or whatever. And
Yep.
I think up until NFTs and Web3, that wasn't translated. It wasn't even possible to be translated over to anything visual, right?
Mm.
The visual arts were purely locked in. Music had a little bit of it. I mean, you saw the whole, like, once the Napster stuff started coming out back in the day, and once Spotify started coming out, and then Universal came in with their 360 deal to try to kind of capitalize on all this stuff. At least with music, the earth started to shake a little bit,
Yep.
but now with Web3 and NFTs, you even see all these musicians like Kings of Leon and The Weeknd, and everybody's coming over because they're like, wait a minute, I can mint a song and my community can own a piece of that song, and
Yep.
they'll pay me to make the song. And likewise, if that song gets licensed for a Honda commercial, maybe there's a way to push rewards back to the people who actually literally own the song,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw there was that. Oh, man, what did my buddy Zach has an NFT project he's launching called Rad Shrooms.
Nice.
It's so cool. It's exactly what you think it is.
Yeah, right on.
Like amazing mushrooms, and he's like created the Shroomiverse, this verse where like you go in and it's like a nightclub and everyone's just a big happy mushroom and the black lights and the whole deal. Anyways, he had sent me a link. God, I wish I could remember what it was called, but it was essentially like a marketplace where, as an independent artist, if you were at a certain stature, you could sign up and you could basically, sell your songs and your music as NFTs, allow your community to have ownership of that, and they can go out and when they go out and do deals and whatnot, like they get a share in that experience. It's really fascinating. Even didn't Snoop just buy Death Row and he's relaunching it as an NFT?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Which I just feel like there's just so much we don't know yet, right? It feels like the early days of the .com, where it was just like, what's going to be the next, what's going to be that thing? What's going to be that tipping point? Because at some point here, I mean, I'm curious, like, what is going to be the tipping point for Web3, where suddenly it becomes the mainstream and we're not like the fucking outcasts that are getting crucified in the media and everything else,
Yeah, I hope it's a good 5 to 10 years away so that we can capitalize on it fully. Because I know that day is coming, like it's going to come. I know that I saw a statistic. I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm probably going to butcher it, but there's something like only something like 0.0003 of the Earth's population owns an NFT or something. Like the amount of people that actually own NFTs is tiny, tiny, tiny.
Yeah, someone, who was it? I was hanging out with my boy Mike, that has Block of Horror. Do you know that NFT project?
Which one is it?
It's called Block of Horror. They're doing some cool stuff. You should check out their Discord. Yeah, I was having drinks with him 2 weeks ago, and he gave me some crazy number that, like, I think he said it was only like a half a million wallets in the US own NFTs.
That's right. It's somewhere between 350,000 and a million last time I looked. I can't remember the number.
Yeah,
because he was right.
Yeah, because he was like, dude, we're super early on this. I'm like, really? I'm like, it's like we're couple years into this, right? And he was like, yeah, no, dude, but there's only like a 500,000 wallets that actually own NFTs. He's like, we're way early on this,
right?
And that just like completely blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm convinced that NFTs are the gateway to crypto. So you know, there's more crypto commercials right now. Like, you know, crypto.com has commercials and Coinbase probably has one and all this. But
yeah, crypto.com now is, the old Staples Center here in LA.
That's right. That's right. And but with NFTs, like the minute you have, I mean, there's like Get Protocol and a few others that are going after ticketing and all of this. And once tickets go full on into Web3 and become NFTs, just purely, I mean, if for no other reason, everything's going to become an NFT just for the resale value, just for the ability for a consumer or a fan to buy something and have the opportunity to resell it, even at a loss, is completely unique. Like, hey, I got this ticket for this U2 concert and it was a cool show, and now I have the opportunity to resell the ticket, you know? And like maybe there's a super fan out there that actually wants the ticket just as a collectible. That you're everything. It's crazy to think that everything, and I mean everything. What NFTs does is it makes everything a collectible. And for a nerd like me, it's kind of like, like, but it's really true. Like coming from a background of animation and comics, like, I mean, I've been a comic collector since I was like 12 years old. Right. So I understand the value of collecting. I have everything polybagged. Like I get it. But as an animator, when I was at Cartoon Network and I was directing and animating, like it never occurred to me that there would be anything special about it. Right. Because it's a commercial job. And of course I loved animating and learning new styles and, like just working on the entire Hanna-Barbera library and as a personal accomplishment. It was an achievement. I was like, man, it always kept me creatively fresh.
Yep.
And it wasn't until years later or a few years after, where, YouTube of course had already been out, but like a few years later, I had taken like my entire portfolio, like 150 animated commercials that I animated or directed, probably more, and put them on YouTube really as just like a demo reel. Right. I was like, cool, demo reel. I don't have to make VHS tapes anymore. Awesome. No more digibeta. Fuck yeah. So I just put it on YouTube and I started to get like comments and messages from fans who were first, like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Like, I love your stuff, which was awesome and really flattering. But even more interesting was that they would ask like, hey, do you have the gold background edition of this cartoon that was pushed into Latin America at 1997? And you're like, what? I was like, I mean, I don't think I did that one. Like, you're like, it was all of a sudden, it really opened me up to understanding, like, all of a sudden videos became collectible. And this wasn't something that people could own. It was purely just them adding it to a playlist.
Yeah.
These are just YouTube videos.
Yeah. It's less about ownership and more about access.
Yeah. And now with Web3 and NFTs, like, again, it's a gateway drug. Once everybody understands that everything tied to an NFT is fully owned and operated by you, once I don't know why this is, but it still has this mystique where you know, you can explain it and people don't get it until they do it, and then they get it.
Yep.
Right. Once you mint something and it's in your wallet and you have that experience of ownership, and then you realize that there's marketplaces where people are selling the thing, and all of a sudden you see the thing that you sold being sold as well. You're like, oh, I can sell this at any point in time. And they're like, yeah, it's immutable. It's on the blockchain. You can do whatever you want. Like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. It's crazy. You mentioned that, you know, NFTs. How did you put it? NFTs they put a face to crypto? At least that was what I had heard in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. Go for it. I called it a gateway.
Yeah, gateway. Like it kind of put, you know, it's like, you know, $1, you can actually, you know, physically hold that, change whatever, you know, credit, you have a card that goes in your wallet, and like NFTs sort of gave like a visual identity to crypto.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason where the appeal, you know, came from, for sure. Now it's like, what's everyone going to do with that?
Right.
You know, where does it go from here? But yeah, I've seen some really interesting. There's some really interesting projects out there right now. That, you know, I just, it seems like, man, it was just like, you know, talking to Obi, right? You know, like our Elizabeth Brooks, who's one of the investors in the Glimmering, or Gripner rather. She introduced me to your friend Obi, and like he and I were having a conversation about like his animation software, and then that introduced me to you. And it's like, it seems like what's really cool about NFT space is it's a very tight knit community, and everyone is very like open and willing to help each other build their projects, versus in a lot of other spaces, it's like, you know, competition. No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on the secret sauce, right? Like I have found it to be the complete opposite, which is really amazing. But, you know, it's interesting on the flip side. It's like, to the outside world, we're just like, we're the assholes that are ruining the environment.
Right. Yeah.
And everything else. But it's like amongst like everyone who's in it, like everyone's like really into it and very open and very just giving it. It's community driven. Like it really is. And that's been wonderful, even within like our own team. You know, like the team started out as like, I think in the very beginning it was like Patrick, Brent, myself, Steven, I think Jax was maybe involved. And like now there's like, I don't know, 23 or 25 of us total that are between technology, art, marketing, web. Like it's just, you know, business development. And even amongst ourselves, it's this amazing flow of just information and ideas and collaboration. And there's never really like, this is my lane, this is what I do.
Right.
Like great ideas are great ideas, relationships are great relationships. Everyone's just out there kind of hustling for the greater good. And that's been a lot of fun.
And I think that, and that to extend on that point, I think, you know, it's not just a team thing, it's the community as well, right? Like that's what makes it so special. Really quick, I'm going to jump into chat and see who's here. And I think we got a couple of questions. It's pretty cool.
Sure.
Hype TV, what's up, Hype? Welcome. How you doing? Casper, what's up, man? How are you? Mastiff, what's up? OG, baby. You know. J-Raw, what's up? Welcome. He says, what up, Todd? What up, Kyle?
What's up, man?
What's up? Dusty's what's up, Dusty? How you doing? Hey, Brent, how are you? Brent says, play the one shot.
Yeah, that's Brent, our CEO.
That's right. What's up, Brent? How are you?
I think we're actually talking about setting up a one shot for your community.
Yeah, we should absolutely do that. We're gonna set up just FYI, we're gonna set up a one shot. We're gonna roll it. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be so much fun.
I played it a couple months ago. It was
awesome.
So fun. It was
awesome.
So
We'll set up the details. We'll definitely have details coming up for that. Willie D says, I always wanted to do a D&D campaign. This may be my shot. Yeah. D&D's a lot of fun, man. You know, it really is. It really is. And Brent says, we're going to do a one shot in the AF server. No experience required. Let's play.
There you go.
You know, Casper says D&D adventure style for sure. Percy says, why would you call NFTs a gateway to crypto? Isn't it the other way around? Yes and no. I mean, crypto certainly can be a gateway to NFTs, but I think as time moves on, I think, and this is just my own opinion, I don't know, but I think the opposite is going to be more it's going to be more true. And the reason I say that is because crypto is seen as digital money, and there's a lot of different tokens, and it's complex, and people have an innate fear of changing quote unquote real money for quote unquote fake money, right? Most of the resistance that I personally get when I talk to people about crypto is that it's not real, or that, you get the whole stuff with NFTs too. It's a scam and blah 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 blah. But there's a novice fear of taking real money and exchanging it for fake money, which is funny to me, and I always try to explain, like, look, yeah, you can keep it as USD or as fiat, and there's no risk in that because it only goes one way, which is south, right? I mean, inflation right now is destroying your entire savings account. If I take that same amount of money that's making 0.01% interest in your savings account, and personally, I take my money and I put it into USDC and stake it at like 9%, I'm at least able to match or beat inflation. And that's, to me, less risky. Again, do your own research, not financial advice. But these are the kinds of conversations you have. And it's sort of like this thing with, like, taking real money and turning it into fake money. With NFTs, there's a couple things. One, you're removing, there's, you're introing people through artwork right now. Artwork, it's almost like Brooklyn and New York City, where there's this neighborhood that maybe no one's been in for a while, or isn't very populated, and then the artists come in, and they're the ones that build the coffee shops and the boutiques and the lofts and the studios, right? And then people kind of come. And that's kind of what you're seeing now with NFTs, where you have generative art and one-of-one art and PFP art and everything that's going on. And that's bringing people. So a lot of people who are buying these PFPs and NFTs and one-of-one generative art for the first time are also first-time art buyers. And they're also first-time crypto people. And so what happens is they buy the NFT, they learn how to do crypto so that they can buy the NFT. And then once they sell the NFT, they have crypto, and they realize that they have this thing, and they can start buying, selling, and trading. And I think just because the use case of NFTs is so vast, from everything from art to ticketing, to healthcare, like every single sector in the broader economy has a use case for NFTs. One of my friends, we interviewed for an AMA a few weeks ago, Tej. He's the chief revenue officer of Axiom Space. So they're commercializing the space station, and they're using NFTs to spread the message and get people involved. So if you can bring in people for a concept like sending people into outer space, and have that be applicable, then you can apply the concept of NFTs to absolutely anything and everything. And I think it's easier for some people. Everyone's different, but I think there is an argument to be made that it's easier to convince someone to say, hey, support your favorite cause by purchasing this NFT for $20 US or whatever, because you can convert these things now. And then once they have the NFT, that opens them up to looks rare and OpenSea and Rarible. And oh my God, you mean I can sell this thing? Right? Oh, that's right. It's real. Yeah, it's an object. Oh, it's a little bit of I think art is a little bit of an easier doorway than money to fake money, to me, because people have such a mental block with capital, but that's just my opinion,
I just find it funny that people call it fake money. It's like the US dollar isn't fake. It's not like if you go to the bank, like they have a vault full of gold that like is physically backing, like it's just numbers.
Right. Right, exactly. It's not like they lend it out. Hell, it's not like they're putting it into crypto to get the APY so that they can, you know what I mean? Like, it's exactly. Willie D says, I got involved in crypto specifically because I wanted an NFT. Yeah, so there's the perfect example, right?
That's been the case for me as well. Like anybody I know that has gotten into crypto is basically through NFTs.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, I mean, you're opening up, even with Glimmering, you're opening up a doorway, because you're saying, oh, there are so many people that understand what a TTRPG is, and they know D&D 5e, right? And that passion, right? That desire to play the next version of a D&D module or campaign can be the draw that breaks through the barrier of getting an NFT.
Absolutely.
Right. It's the same thing with adult fantasy, right? We've got Cartoon Network and Marvel Comics. So if you like Marvel Comics and you like Cartoon Network and you like Adult Swim, then maybe we can break you past that fear of buying something. If you like the artwork, you say, holy shit, this is really cool. And you jump in and all of a sudden you're kind of part of the bigger ecosystem that is NFTs. And that's how we all grow, because the next thing they buy is a Glimmering or something else, right?
Yep,
so
absolutely.
it really expands.
Yeah, and I think part of that process is going to be on us to, help educate people that, aren't well versed in crypto or how to open a wallet and actually, kind of hold their hand and get them, through the door, which is going to be part of our effort, is like educating people on, how to actually do this.
Are you going to have? Are you planning on having like educational material and stuff?
Yeah, we've been talking through what that actually looks like. Specifically, I think for like the 5e community, that want to play, but, don't understand how to like open a wallet, how to connect a wallet, how to make a purchase of an NFT. So we've been collaborating and talking behind the scenes of what that experience could actually be. I mean, hell, we've actually talked about doing some Zoom, seminars or live streams or whatever, where if you're interested, you can join and we'll have someone actually like walk you through the process. So we're definitely taking a leadership role in that space, I believe.
Awesome. Percy said it makes sense because you're buying the crypto to get NFTs. Right. Just never heard that before. Yeah. Brent says baboons with explosives. Inside joke about the one shot, but you'll get it when you play. Those apes ain't bored. That's right. Percy said, I saw white. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say there's all sorts of Easter eggs that Steven threw in the one shot for sure.
I love it. Percy says, I saw a white paper about using crypto and NFTs for the voting process for a country. Pretty insane how adaptable it is. That's right. I mean, it's also it's provable. It's unhackable and provable. So why not create a mint for every time you cast a vote? It would be trackable on the blockchain and it's impossible to fake.
Yeah, I'd love to see that white paper.
Yeah. Percy, share that if you have the link. No pressure, but if you have it on file, we'd love to see it.
Share it. I'd love to see that.
Space launches for onboarding to crypto. No, that defines when moon. Yeah, exactly. 100%, right? And then he says, Bill Hicks said the economy is fake anyway. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Percy also asked us, and I guess this is for both of us, man. It says, what are the ideas for expanding the community?
Wow. I mean, we're still in the process of building a community. I guess that is part of expanding it. God, I mean, I guess I would ask you, like, what were some, I don't want to say case studies, but, what do you find that worked well for you when you were building adult fantasy before you got to mint, right? Because that's really the grind, is like getting to the initial mint.
Yeah, we tried everything. And I mean everything. And we have a playbook now that we have that we kind of add to and edit. And so we document. We're religious with systems building and framework building. So we document everything. And what we learned was there's a lot of double-edged swords that you have to be careful of. So from an organic perspective, organic meaning, for those that don't know, organic meaning traffic that you don't pay for, right? Mm-hmm. So there's paid advertising and then there's organic advertising. So organic traffic, we learned that giveaways worked pretty well. This actually works really well, like AMAs, where you can actually like have an opportunity to meet people, like actually meet the people behind the project. It's such there. You saw, I'm sure everyone saw this week. There's been stuff in the NFT world about doxed teams and issues with founders who weren't maybe forthcoming and all this kind of stuff. And so just being able to put your face on camera or have someone that represents the project able to put their face on camera and just candidly talk about stuff is a huge win. Yep. And it builds trust, and it also, it also brings a community, multiple communities together. People cross-pollinate. So this works really well. we found like doing games in our Discord is a really good bonding exercise. It's extremely fun, and it just brings people together. It's really and really the other stuff that works, like there are paid avenues that work, but it starts to get a little hard because the double-edged sword that you end up hitting is that the stuff that will grow your Discord the fastest may also be the things that your community doesn't necessarily want. Right? So for instance, you can do like our group knows this, and I make fun of it all the time. Like when we were growing, we started to do an invite contest. It was like, I saw it, another Discord had it, and they did phenomenal with it. And I was like, cool, copy, paste. You know what I mean? Like, why invent anything? It did fantastic. I was like, awesome, this looks great. And so it was like leaderboards, and I was like, this is so cool. I was like, this is brilliant. And we launched it, and it was like, I mean, it was like out of a movie. I hit at everyone, and I hit enter, and then you're just kind of waiting, and it was calm for a minute. And then General went ding, ding, and it was just like, scam, this is crap, don't do this. And like
middle finger emojis.
Totally. Clown emojis, everything. And what I did not know is that literally the day before, because the space changes so fast, the NFT space changes so fast, literally the day before, there had begun the discussion that how invite contests were a scam, or insert negative adjective. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, like invite contests were like the negative thing of the week. And I just like walked right into it. Right. And I was just like, no. So I had to like, I just hit the pause button, and I did a video, and I was like, hey, everybody, I'm so sorry. Like, just give us a minute. And of course, behind the scenes, it's like putting out fires and stuff. Fortunately, the community understood, and we said, okay, no more. So we've been growing organic pretty much ever since. Yeah, it's and I will say the number one thing that works is whitelist. Like that's the hottest thing you can do. The whitelist is the fastest growing thing. The only thing that I would, if knowing now what I wish I knew then, is like we launched our Discord last June. Like we launched early, and from like June all the way to August, maybe even September, we only had like 230 people in the Discord. It was super hard, and we were like manually DMing people like, hey, I loved your post, check this out. Like we were targeting people who we thought might be interested, of course, but it was a slog, and it was like a full-time job just to get 230 people in. And so we were ready to do the whitelist. We still were like weeks, really a month or two away from launching, but we were like, our Discord's really small, so let's go ahead and launch the whitelist, and that way we can use that, and people can have time to get on the whitelist while we're getting ready for launch. And what ended up happening is we launched the whitelist, and overnight, within like 24 hours, we went from 230 people to over 2,000 people.
Oh wow!
It was instant, and the minute people came in, it was like, when are we launching? Right? And so we were like, oh crap! Like they think we're launching like tomorrow. You know what I mean? And we were like, hey everyone, we're still like a month or two away, and so we had to kind of scramble to keep that energy going. So if I was to do it again, and especially as we move into the future, like you do the whitelist, but if you're going to do the whitelist, make sure that people know when the date's going to be, and like make sure that you're kind of ready for it.
I think
go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, kind of back to my point earlier. If you really want to like build your community, at least what I found, the way to do that is to help other people build their communities. So I just think that like everyone that's in the space is so like just into it. Like everyone is just really all about NFTs, and everyone's like really excited about everyone's projects. So I'm really trying to take the mindset and the philosophy of like, well, you know what, if we want to like build our community, like let's start like talking about other projects that we think are exciting. Let's bring other people into our conversations. Let's, you know, bring some of our folks over to them, and they'll bring some of their folks over to us. And, you know, because it's such a tight knit community as it is. We all kind of, like I said, it's like to the outside world, we're just like fucking assholes.
Yeah, right.
Greatest people ever. You know, like everyone's just all about it. And that to me is, I think, the number one way to just help build your community is to help everyone else build theirs too.
Yeah, for sure. Brent says pressure. Yeah, for real. Right? Dusty says the infamous invite contest. Yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely like, you know, my life flashing before my eyes, because you're like, you're making this mistake and you didn't know it was a mistake, and you know there's such a, you know, and rightfully so. There are reasons to be this cautious, but the instinct for people is to just like jump on it and just like bury you. You know what I mean? And so this is why, like, even with when we're covering like regular stuff with new stuff or whatever, like I don't FUD projects. You know, I'm just not going to talk about other people's projects, you know, other than like AMAs and stuff, like, because it's not my play. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my place to do it. And I've been on the receiving end just for an instant. I mean, it was like a couple hours of it, let alone like days and weeks of it. Like, it's horrible. And so I think it's, you know, you want to do everything you can to foster positivity and to really like you said, like kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Brett says, one plan to expand the community is to do sincere shit with really cool people, really great people like y'all. We might need to go viral by kicking Elon Musk in the nuts. That's being debated internally. Shit. That's hilarious. Yeah. And Dusty, I think invite contests are a dangerous road because of invite spotting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's, man, what do you feel about the NFT, I guess, conversations on like Instagram? Because everything I've seen on Instagram has just been shit.
Yeah. I mean, I know
a lot of bots, and I mean, it seems like everything is pretty much Discord and Twitter. Feels like that's where real conversations are happening. Everything I've seen on it, which is interesting because NFTs are visual. You think Instagram would be great, but I haven't really seen that on any project.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
Yeah, it's Instagram. I mean, so it's Twitter and Discord are number 1 and number 2. Telegram is number 3. Some people just absolutely prefer Telegram over Discord.
Interesting.
Don't know why, it's just a thing, but I would say those are the 3 top. And yeah, I mean, when I first started, the first thing that I did was I started doing Facebook ads because I know how to do it, and I have a background in digital marketing too. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to set up a funnel and set up a really cool campaign, and we're going to, you know, so I'm in my ad manager and I'm doing all this, and like my results are just trash. And I'm like, well, this is new. Like, I was like, I know how to do my experiments, but like I just kept failing at it. And I was like, I couldn't crack it. And, you know, I'm sure I could, but I couldn't. And then, you know, Zuckerberg is doing, he's moving. He really wants to push Instagram to be an NFT platform similar, I think, to what Coinbase is doing. Because Coinbase hired the former designer of Instagram.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
So if you look at Coinbase's NFT app, it's literally, it looks, I mean, they paid this guy a fortune. But if you've been around a long time and you remember the first version of Instagram, he literally took the first version of Instagram and modified it a little bit for NFTs, but it's the first version of Instagram. So it's like, oh, here's your NFT, and you can comment and you can like, and you're like, oh my God, dude, how much did you get paid for this? But so there's now clearly a push to move to use advertising and push NFTs into Instagram. With that said, yeah, I haven't seen it at all. To be quite honest, like even with the Coinbase NFT platform, like it got a lot of heat in the lead up, and it got a lot of heat on the day of the launch, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it since.
I haven't either. It was like here for a day and then gone.
And I don't know why, because it looks awesome. Although I'll tell you, so I talked to I was talking to Coinbase early on. They reached out and we had a good conversation, and I was stoked. I was like, when I saw what it looked like, it really looks great. But I found, and this is just my own personal experience, but when I got my invite and I went to log on, I didn't know. It actually stopped me. Like the ability to comment on NFTs stopped me from logging on, because first I was like, well, which account do I use? Because I have a few, right? You've got your hot wallet, your trader wallet, your cold wallet, like which my adult fantasy, like which one should I put forward? Right. And then the ability to comment, I was like, I don't necessarily want people to know, like if it's adult fantasy, I'm totally fine with it. You know what I mean? And some people like flex all night and day, but I'm an older guy, and just the way I was raised, like I don't flex. You know what I mean? I'm not like Wen Lambo and being like, yo, check out all my fucking NFTs, bro. Like that's just not the way I roll. So I was like, I don't know what I should show. Like my instinct was actually to show my burner wallet, which is like the NFTs that like didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like the ones where I was like, yeah, if you guys want it, I'll sell it to you for a penny. You know, like, like the stoop sale of NFTs. But
Right.
but then I was like, well, if that's the way I feel about it, should I actually put the effort in to build this account? You know? And so I actually haven't built my account yet. And so I wonder if that's, that's only my own use case. I don't know if that's, how anecdotal that is, but
I bet there's probably people having similar experience as you.
Yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me.
It's interesting. Percy says, I hate the term FUD so much because most of the time it's pointed at legit scams, but they use it to dispel that. Yeah, and the challenge I also have with it is that because we're in a at the beginning of the adoption curve. I talk about this all the time. We're at the very tip of the adoption curve for this thing, right? When you have however many, 7 billion people on the planet and less than 500,000 wallets that actually own NFTs, like we're at the very tip of this thing. And at the very tip of the adoption curve is the hype cycle. So that's why, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter anything really about the project, is how much hype it has. But that's just the way it goes. And the challenge with that is that if you build your product on that hype, you get the financial reward that comes with it, right? The double-edged sword, the flip side is that it also is, those projects are incredibly easy to FUD, right? The minute anything comes out, there's this tendency to, because it's an immature market and you're talking to collectors and buyers, some of whom are brand new, right? Certainly you have a lot of people who come from finance and startups and investment and houses and all that kind of stuff. But a large number of people are brand new to the space. They're first-time collectors. They're young. And so they don't understand that a project, no matter how hyped it is, no matter how much money they make at mint, may still fail, right? That company may not find product market fit and may not be able to pivot and may not even have the funds to allocate. Like, again, on the outside, a $3 to $5 million raise through minting sounds like a lot of money, unless you're a company with dozens of employees and then everyone's making 20 to 30 grand a year. You know what I mean? Like it's really not that much money depending on how the cash allocation to resources. So these companies fold and they say, we're so sorry, we wish we could continue, but we can't, and they go away. And then the thing that comes at them is like that FUD of like scam, rug, like this super negativity. And I think it does a disservice to founders. We actually talked about this last night on last night's Evening Alpha, where there's this disservice to founders by lumping them in with literal robbers and scammers because they failed. Like I've been around entrepreneurs for decades, and the amount of bipolar disorder and depression and just the things that happen to you, that can happen to you when you're trying to build something and you put everything into it and you're so invested into it and it fails and you take it personally, right? What can happen to your mind is, you have these thoughts of like, I'm a failure. I can't believe it. Like I lost everything. My friends hate me, my community hates me, my employees hate me, I let everybody down. And then you add the social media pressure of everybody actually telling you the same thing in a public way, thousands of people potentially, for like not just like a day or two, like for years, you know. Go away and take a break through the summer and come back and launch another company, and you'll still have people coming at you like, yo, what happened to the last company, dickhead?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's FUD is a horrible thing. It's really difficult. I'm starting to believe that growing slow and steady and doing the kind of things that we're doing, where we're really doing everything we can to engage with, like, we're a part of the community. You know what I mean? Like, we're building a community and we're a part of the community, and we're all working together towards a goal, even if it's the slow and steady tortoise route versus the hare. I think in the long term, that's the appropriate. I really think that that's the way to do it. I really do. It's hard because that also means that you're going to see those rabbits, you know, push button mint $30 million. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden their NFTs are worth like, you know, 80 ETH each or something.
Yeah.
But you know, it's built on a foundation of sand. It's a lot of times.
Slow and steady is the way. I mean, I think we were even talking about this, you know, I saw the same thing with my agency over the last, you know, 12, 13 years that it's been around. Like how many other agencies I saw start up and fail, like the hot shit one day and then just, you know, gone the next. And I've just kind of always just been just calm waters is really the way to go.
Yeah, it's better for your health, better for your sanity, and it's a great way to grow in the long term, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Brent says wisdom. Yeah, for sure. It says Brett says Suck wants to do NFTs to take 40% of your earnings. Not going to make it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Zuck, he says. Zuck, but same thing. Typo. Yeah, same difference. Zuck. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like he wants to do his own, what was it, Horizon metaverse or something, and he's talking about taking 40%. It's like, who? Do you not get it? Like, but this is also why I think, you know, this is why I get so excited, because whether it's Facebook or Web 2.0 or, you know, these legacy companies like Marvel for adult fantasy, like Marvel cannot do what we're going to do. There's no way.
Right.
Having been there, having worked there, having been behind the scenes, it is not possible, no matter how much money they have or how big they are. That is the disadvantage. They will not do what adult fantasy and Clever Era can do. Right? It's not possible. And I think it's the same thing with Glimmering, where you can build out this universe and do things that other game companies and other corporations would never allow. Absolutely. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much. That's the beauty of this, right? Is it's like, it's time for the young guns to kind of come in and change things up and do something different. Your Marvel reference was like a perfect example of that. There's no way in hell that a behemoth like that would be able to pull something off like this.
No.
Between the red tape and the bureaucracy and the whole point of Web3, right, is a decentralization of IP, right? That's kind of like what we've been talking about, and their whole business model is the centralization of IP, total control and ownership of it. I don't see how they could get in the space.
Yeah, you know what's so funny, man, is like being deep into comics. There's a story, quote unquote, a story out there that the reason comics tanked in the 90s, when it kind of started going down, was because of the speculators. The blame is these are the collectors, basically. They blamed everything on the people actually buying the books. They said, oh, well, the speculators were buying 10 and 20 and 30 issues of this thing, expecting it to be worth millions. And when it didn't become worth millions, they stopped collecting and they kind of flooded the market. And it's not really, from my perspective, having been on that side, it's not true. What is true is that these companies were too big for their britches and started buying companies and tried to bring all the production in-house. So Marvel bought a toy company, they bought a game company, they bought a distributor, and they tried to run all of these businesses, and it's not a core competency, and they failed. They lost. They went bankrupt because of it. The other thing that's interesting is that Marvel and DC, there was a period from really up until the late 90s. What they used to do is they had this really brilliant PR thing where you would have portfolio days at every convention. So every single convention across the nation, you could go to a convention and you could sign up to meet an editor from Marvel or from DC or from Image or from Dark Horse, and you could show your portfolio and get feedback. And sometimes that was kind of the quote unquote appropriate way to get a job, because sometimes that editor would look at your work and be like, actually, I have a job. Would you like to, I'd like to hire you. It was the doorway. It was the gateway in. Right. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, they stopped the practice. They said, no more, no unsolicited submissions. And a lot of it was just time and energy and money. And they didn't want to do it anymore. And and I remember talking to my friends about it back then. I was like, do they not understand that a majority, from my perspective as a collector and an artist, a majority of the people who collect comics or who collected comics at that time were aspirational artists and writers and colorists and inkers and editors. They loved the space because they wanted to do the thing. Right. And the minute you turned that off and shut the dream off, everyone was like, well, screw it. I can't do it. So I'm not going to go to the convention anymore. Right. Screw it. I'm not going to go to the comic shop anymore because I'm never going to get in. So I'm just going to go back and get a day job.
They killed the dream.
They killed the dream, and I think we have the opportunity that like what Web3 does is it kind of turns that light. I mean, at least for me anyway, it just turned it right back on,
Yeah. I mean, that's actually one of the missions of Grittner itself as a Web3 company is like, once we, launch and, have some success with the Glimmering, we want to allow other people to build on our protocol.
Awesome.
Like, what's going to be the next thing that someone else wants to bring to the table that we can help them bring to the blockchain? We're not trying to kill the dream. We're trying to build the dream.
Right. That's building blocks, man. Percy says gaming skins moving to NFTs is going to be fun to watch. A lot of big legacy gaming companies are going to use it to squeeze every dollar they can. Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating. And I don't know. I still question how successful it's going to be. I'm sure there's some fantastic games out there, and there's some fantastic game companies, and the crossing over is going to work. But I think for a lot of companies, it's going to fail miserably. Like, I'm looking forward to like the Taco Bell NFT. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, it's going to happen, and it's just not going to work.
I gotta tell my girl about that one.
I'm just waiting for it. But so before we go, man, I mean, is there anything else we should know before we jump?
I mean, we are actually just getting to the point now where we are really going to start showing the artwork. So even what you're seeing right now on the site is just an early taste of what the guys have been working on. But the artwork has evolved tremendously. If you scroll back up and you can look at, this was some of the early iterations of the fighter class. So just everything from like faces, weapons, costuming, hair, like, all the classic NFT, traits that you're going to see on OpenSea. That stuff has evolved tremendously from what you're seeing right now. Even the background, the environments that the characters are going to reside within. We've got some really cool stuff that we're going to start showing. We're pretty much, I would say we're about 99% there to the finish line as far as getting the core artwork done. And I would say over the next few weeks and the next month, we're really going to start pushing the artwork and what these guys have been working on. It's pretty incredible what they've been able to pull off. It still blows my mind.
That's awesome. It looks great. It really does. I'm actually really excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you think this looks great. Like, I'm just like everything from the color palette, costuming, like there's some really, really fun stuff that I think people are going to trip on when they see like the complete picture. This is very like, I don't want to say this is concept art because it's not. Like you will see some of these elements, but it's definitely a step up from what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, I get it. Like when we, and in fact, if you still, we're rebuilding our website now, but if you go there right now and you scroll down and you look at the bios, like all of our bios are characters that are in black and white because we hadn't gotten to the color phase yet. So it was just ink art, you know?
Yeah, that's great. I need to go back and look at that because I don't. Now that you mentioned that, I'm going to go back and peep that.
Yeah. You can laugh. It's like, oh my god, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would just love if you're interested, like hop into our Discord. Follow us on Twitter. Like things are going to start heating up for us here in the next few weeks for sure. Yeah, and definitely. I want to get a one shot set up for anyone in your community that wants to play it. We'll probably have Steven run that, and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun.
For sure, and we'll be putting a lot of promotion into Adult Fantasy Discord to try to help push some traffic your way. Certainly, you can check out their Discord if you need a link. You can go to the Glimmering's website, and they have all the links. You can also just go to the Adult Fantasy Twitter post because we also put the link to their Discord in that. J. Ross says, I heard Starbucks is putting out an NFT. Yeah, I heard that too. I don't even know. I know I want my grande latte NFT.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what's the utility of the Starbucks NFT?
I have no idea. I don't know. I have to assume it's like a coffee club or something.
Yeah, it's like, would it just replace, like, I want to say replace, but is it like the Web3 version of their app where you can, I don't know, show the NFT in store and you get like free Frappuccino or
yeah, I don't know. It's like the NFT loyalty card or something. I have no idea. I don't know. I saw it and I passed it. I was like, no. But that's the perfect example. Like, okay, good luck,
Well, yeah, it's like CMO at Starbucks sees, NFTs are blowing up and they got to have one. But
that's right. Yeah, that's right. But it's such a clear case of not understanding. It's such a very specific market right now.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you so much, really,
man,
for having me on. I'm super stoked that we got connected, and obviously, our relationship and conversation certainly will not, end here. I'm super stoked to see what you guys are going to do, and I'll certainly be keeping you in the loop.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, one of the things that we're trying to do is connect with like you guys, like amazing projects and things that deserve more attention. And one of the things that we talk about internally is how, when we launched last year, there were maybe like 2 projects that were focused on the storytelling side of Web3, and now that space is blowing up, and so it's really fun to watch. And so anything that we can do to foster that, because I think that's the one of the most important sectors.
Dude, I gotta have you on one of our Twitter spaces.
Let's do it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have a couple coming up in the next few weeks. I don't know what the agenda is, but I'll figure out a way to get you in there.
Let's do it. Well, I would love to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, Kyle, dude, thank you so much for this. I think this was a great conversation. And everybody in chat, thank you guys so much for posting. Thank you guys so much for being involved and engaging. Again, check out everybody's links. You know where to go. After this, normally we hop over into the Adult Fantasy Discord. We have an after party where we play some games, hang out. So everybody is more than welcome to come over to that Discord and pop in and get destroyed by some of the people in our Discord who are just way better at playing games than I am. And with that, we're going to say good night. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time on the next Evening Alpha. Take care.
Thank you, brother.